So, do you want Chapter Master rerolls for basically your entire army? It'll cost you a few CP, but let's look at a combo that can help you with that. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, the strategy focused 40k channel, where we're all about getting the most out of our miniatures on the battlefield. Continuing our look at the Space Marine Codex and interesting combos that we can use, I thought I'd mention a particularly interesting little buff combo that was suggested on the Phobos Captain video I made by a certain Mr. Chris Clayton. You've been doing a very good job at keeping all of my math hammer accurate and calling me out on any rules mistakes that I make, and thank you for all of that. It's very helpful so that I can improve for next time. So this is the combo that he has proposed to potentially get a whole load of Chapter Master rerolls along your entire gun line. So we're going to be using the Phobos Captain, who, as we already know from the previous video, can't take any war gear options, but he can take warlord traits, relics, and the Chapter Master stratagem. So assuming that you're already using your warlord traits and free relic elsewhere, then this little setup will cost you 4 command points, 2 for the Chapter Master stratagem, 1 for Hero of the Chapter, and 1 for an additional relic. Now what is particularly helpful is that all of these come from the base Codex Space Marines, so this is available to you no matter which chapter you play. So firstly, as a Primaris character, he can take the relic Vox Espiritum, which will increase the range of his aura by 3 inches. This works with his Chapter Master aura, so he will be covering a massive 9 inches all around him on the board, providing those Chapter Master rerolls to a huge swath of your army in the first place. As a character with a decent gun, he's perfectly happy to sit back and plink away at other enemy characters with that very nice damage 3 mastercrafted Instigator bolt carbine, a weapon that probably takes longer to say the name of than it does to shoot. Now the clever bit is putting on the warlord trait Shoot and Fade, which is specific to Vanguard Space Marines, so Phobos units. So at the start of your shooting phase, you can select one friendly Chapter Phobos unit within 6 inches of him, which can be himself, and after shooting with it, you can move and you must advance, and you can't charge in the assault phase. So basically, this is a way that you can move that massive 9-inch aura buff by 6 inches plus the d6 length of the advance roll, which is likely to be around about 10 inches, but could be anywhere between 7 and 12. As he's a shooty character who's going to be wanting to keep himself safe at the back of your gun line, he really doesn't care too much about not being able to charge, so it means that you could potentially fire all of the units that he's buffing originally within that big 9-inch aura. Then you shoot with this guy and his very nice sniper bolt carbine. Then you use this Shoot and Fade warlord trait to move 6 inches plus d6 inches towards the next major firebase in your army, and provide 4 Chapter Master rerolls to those units as well. This means that you really don't need to cluster up your units anywhere near as much, and you're fully free to put them where they'd actually tactically make sense to go, rather than trying to cram them all into the bubble aura of your Chapter Master. The only real thing that you need to make sure of when you're using this is that when you move him in the movement phase, you need to make sure that he has line of sight onto a target that he can shoot at in the shooting phase, otherwise he won't be able to use this. He has to be able to shoot to be able to use this Shoot and Fade warlord trait to reposition. So you potentially might have to weigh that up against the risks of exposing him if you're playing an enemy army with a lot of snipers. You could, however, use the Shoot and Fade to get back behind a ruin wall out of line of sight of the enemy, use his movements to jump back into view, shoot his gun, and then use that Shoot and Fade movement to jump back behind the ruin wall again. So you could actually use this to buff a lot of units that are further forwards, and then jump back to safety if you are playing against snipers. I think that this could also have potential if you suddenly want to change tack with your army and you want him to jump forward to support some incoming deep strike troops, for example. On average, with the combined movement, he'll be moving 15 inches, and with an aura of 9 inches, it means that you could potentially get your Chapter Master buff to any unit that's within 24 inches of him at the start of the turn. So if you did want to pelt him up the board hell for leather to support a fancy close combat squad that's just dropping down to mash up the enemy in close combat, this crazy mobility could let you squeeze the absolute most potential out of them by accessing those nice Chapter Master rerolls. I genuinely think that that's a really interesting build that you can put on the Phobos Captain. It's unique to that model, as only he can be a chapter master and also take that Phobos warlord trait, and it could genuinely let you share that massive aura buff across a massive gun line, allowing you to not have to play in such a tight castle compared with some of the marine lists you see. I particularly like this as my style of play tends to be more focusing on a host of individual units operating across the battlefield, so this guy is certainly going to be something I'm going to be considering in lists going forwards. Obviously there's always opportunity cost. 4 command points for the whole setup is quite a big investment, though if you did want to make this your warlord and soul chosen relic, I believe it would be useful in most games, as there's very few games that you aren't going to profit from an enormous aura of reroll everything for quite a cheap points investment in terms of the character. So again, big thanks to Chris for sending this in. I thought this was a fun little combo. If there are any other cool character builds, or interesting synergies with psychic powers or stratagems that you've found, feel free to let me know down in the comments below. I'm always on the lookout for new interesting video ideas like this, and if I think that any of them are interesting enough, they'll certainly be getting videos of their own. Thanks again for listening to Auspex Tactics. As always, feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see more Space Marine content such as this, and I'll see you guys in the next video.